Finishing up our series on breakout players in 2024, going to the defensive side of the ball, D linemen, a wave of star defensive tackles coming, linebackers, and cover guys, of course, as well, especially those second and third year breakouts. Who's going to break out in 2024 right now?
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers, and we especially love it when you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And by the way, hit us with those mailbag questions for tomorrow. Matt Williamson's heading out on vacation. I'm going to go solo answering your NFL questions. We can have some fun. We can go off topic. I can't answer questions about hot dog rollers, though, with Williamson gone. But hit me with those questions at BD Peacock. You can tag Matt if you want, at Williamson NFL, or drop a question in the YouTube comments, and we'll do it up on Wednesday's mailbag episode, minus Matt Williamson. On tomorrow's podcast. Then we got Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans, and Matt's going to be sitting there for that one, even though he's actually going to be dipping his toes in the sand, I think, somewhere while the episode actually airs, because we already recorded that one with Tyler Rowland of Locked On Titans, which is a really fun one. But let's get to the defensive side of the ball here, Matt, today, and look at some 2024 breakout players on that side of the ball. I kind of like to start with the interior of the defensive line. And actually yesterday's show, on Monday, we chatted with Gino Camilleri of Locked On Eagles, and I think there's multiple candidates on that Eagles defensive line as the potential star interior defensive guys in the NFL. With now that sort of new Fangio, not more of a hybrid front, not quite the old 3-4 that Fangio used to run, but I think we're going to see some two gapping. We're going to see some opportunities for big plays from those interior guys as well in that defense. So you got 3 drafts in a row, right, on the interior for the Philadelphia Eagles, because last year you got Jalen Carter out of Georgia, first defensive tackle selected. And then in 2022, there was Jordan Davis out of Georgia, his teammate. And then in 2021, you had Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech. That's sort of that big end 5 technique now in that scheme.
Yeah, and it's a great segue by you, considering we just had a Locked On Eagles conversation. And, a little foreshadowing here, the Locked On Titans conversation is excellent. I think everyone should be looking forward to that. But I kind of briefly brought up Carter and Davis, and I think my words were, I think Carter can become the best defensive tackle in the league. And as that whole team did, and as rookies often do, the first half of the season was much better than the second half for Carter. I really don't have any worries about Carter, though, to be honest with you. I have many more worries about Davis. And not that I think he's going to be a bad player, but he kind of summed it up earlier, too. Can he impact every down? He needs to show us that. So I think those two are obvious defensive tackles that could be pivotal / breakouts. I have more faith in Carter than Davis. And then I have a couple others.
I mean, that's high praise.
Yeah.
About,
elite. I mean, that's a big word.
Hey, Aaron Donald. So my son, who just turned 6, he had his birthday over the weekend. He's been on a Star Wars kick. I showed him Star Wars, and we've been watching a lot of the Star Wars movies and the old ones. And, they talk a lot about balance in the Force. And when one Jedi dies, there's another Jedi to come and take its place. And is Jalen Carter the balance in the Force, a defensive tackle, with Aaron Donald now moving on and retiring? And that's pretty big praise to say that Jalen Carter could be the best at his position in the NFL.
I'm not predicting he will be, but I think he's capable of it. He still has to get past Lawrence and Quentin Williams and Chris Jones, they're going to have a lot to say about that. They'll take, Aaron Donald's place in the force and gladly. There's all of a sudden the league is pretty rich at defensive tackle. But I do think Carter's capable. We do know there's some off the field things, which is why he wasn't as picked as high as he should have been based on talent. And he needs to prove that he can be a professional too. But he's in a good environment.
Yeah, a lot of people thought he was the best player in the draft last year. And
I did too.
There at number 9 because of some off field stuff. I'm going to stay in the same position group in the same draft, though, in the 2023 class, Matt, and talk about the Buccaneers. Kalijah Cansey, who's the 19th selection, selected 10 picks later than Jalen Carter in that 2023 first round. Kalijah Cansey showed some flashes as a rookie, and he has, speaking of actually the old alma mater at Pittsburgh from Aaron Donald's alma mater there, that was always the comp because he was the really undersized defensive tackle, but the tape was so fun in college. And I think with defensive linemen, it usually does take at least a year or two for guys to really figure it out in the NFL. And I expect a big year from Kalijah Cansey. I think there's a potential big breakout for him just as an interior pass rusher. And he's so different than Vita Vea on the other side, too. I love that pairing. It's almost cartoonish when you have the way undersized guy and then the 350-pounder next to him. But, I mean, he's got quicks. He's got the motor. And you could see it at times in 2023. And I think year 2 is his opportunity to break out.
Yeah, and I'm pretty confident he will, to be very honest. I watched him a lot at Pitt. I knew his defensive line coach. Charlie Partridge is somebody I was on staff with way back when. Pitt's been pumping out D linemen for a while. I didn't have him on my list, but probably should have. Kind of the opposite of Jordan Davis. Can he show he can be an every down player? But the reverse of that.
Yeah, the opposite version of that.
Yeah.
So it's really important because, pass rush is king in the NFL with defensive linemen, but you got to get to those 3rd and longs first. So you can't be a liability against the run.
Yep. Sticking in that class, more of a hometown feel. We went from PA to Pitt, and now I'm going to go to the Steelers and Keanu Benton. I'm very, very impressed with Keanu Benton. I'm not saying he's the next Cam Hayward around here, but when he was out there, 40% of the snaps or so, he was nearly dominant a high percentage of the time. Now he needs to do it 70-80% of the snaps.
Do you have any other guys on the interior? Do you want to stay in the same draft class? How do you want to do this?
I have 2 more D tackles. We'll go position by position. And these guys are more established. I'm going all the way back to 2021. Christian Barmore. Actually, the Patriots have the most breakout players on my whole list, and they already have a great defense, and he already got paid, but I don't think people realize that he could be not far from that conversation of the elite defensive tackles. And a very underrated player is Aleem McNeil with the Lions. And now you put him next to DJ Reader. He's very, very important to them. Great athlete, really stout. So those are guys that are kind of obvious. I didn't dig super deep, but I think that they're star potential.
And a lot of times what happens, especially with linemen in the NFL, is maybe the breakout already happened, but the accolades from the breakout is kind of a year behind with some of those guys too. So, the Lions fans and a lot of people that watch that team closely know about Aleem McNeil, but the breakout nationally might come this year.
Not a household name, but should be and will be.
Right. In the 2023 class, by the way, just sticking with some names on the interior. The Bears have a couple of guys they drafted back to back, and that's a position that they that is coveted in that scheme for Matt Eberflus. And Gervin Dexter and Zach Pickens have that opportunity for the Bears in the interior. Kobe Turner, as a late 3rd round pick, already broke out for the Rams. He had a phenomenal draft class last year, so I don't think he even counts for this.
Yeah, I didn't put him on there because he was runner up for rookie of the year, but. I guess to pull back the curtain, I did put Will Anderson on. He was rookie of the year, so maybe I should have included him,
You want to flip to the edge, guys? I mean, Will Anderson is already a household name because of how high he was drafted. And he had a really good rookie year. But as far as just pure sack totals, like he could go crazy.
I think they're about to go up, and they'll be playing with a lot of leads and more around them. And so I think the best is yet to come. That's why I included him. And speaking of Patriots, Keon White, I mean, I was shocked when he fell as far as he did. New England scooped him up, really versatile player, flashed a lot as a rookie. I think he could become not a star, but a really good starter.
I'm going to go down a little bit later in the 2023 class to, and there's a little confirmation bias on this one for me, I got to admit, but a guy that fell all the way to the 6th round, even though his tape was really good, out of Bowling Green, and that is Packers defensive tackle Carl Brooks. And he did start to show out as a rookie, and I think he's got more in him. He's just a really good football player. Didn't work out great, and I think it was why he fell all the way to the 6th round. Very pedestrian workout numbers, but the Packers might have got a steal in Carl Brooks there, a starting caliber interior defensive lineman.
They can kind of move him up and down the line of scrimmage too, and he's a nice piece.
Yeah, kind of a big end interior guy, can rush from the inside. I like him in the inside, but he can, play that big end role as well.
Mm-hmm. No, good one. I have 2 from 2022 on the edge. Kayvon Thibodeau, who I think really is going to benefit from Burns being there, and Boye Mafe, who could be the Ajabo Owe in the Ravens scheme, and I thought Mafe played really well last year too. So I think both those guys could be double-digit sack type guys,
I didn't really think about that with Boye Mafe. And, he has all the athletic ability to be a breakout player off the edge and is, kind of come along and shown some flashes there on that Seattle Seahawks defense. But I didn't really put together how the scheme with the new coaching staff there coming from Baltimore could actually help him on the defensive side of the ball. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think they'll like him a lot. I think he fits. He could have been a Raven.
Next, we're going to talk more about second-level defenders, third-level defenders, defensive backs, more breakouts coming in 2024 on the defensive side of the ball this NFL season next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's summertime, and summertime means baseball. Baseball every day. There's a game every single day, except for, what is it? There's one day a year, right? The day after the All-Star game, is it? Where you can't actually bet on really anything sports-wise, except for NFL futures that are always going to be there. So, yeah, I mean, this is an NFL podcast. NFL fans bet on who's going to win the next Super Bowl, who's going to win the MVP next season. There's weekly lines already up at FanDuel, offensive, defensive rookie of the year, and a whole lot more. Baseball every day, motorsports, combat sports, you name it, you can find it at FanDuel. And new customers get an extra $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right, $200 extra to bet on everything you can imagine at FanDuel, every single sport. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Do you have any more edge rushers and defensive linemen before we move on to other positions here, Matt, for our breakouts coming up here in the 2024 season?
I do not. And I only have 2 off-the-ball guys, linebackers.
Let's go off the ball then. Off-ball backers, again, another position that can take a little time in the NFL. And I think how often they're targeted and what they're asked to do in the NFL level is probably the biggest reason why linebackers can take a little while in the NFL.
No doubt. It's a really steep learning curve that I think people are finally catching on to. That being said, I think Jack Campbell could be ahead of the curve. And a lot of this is just based on his college tape, how smart, leadership, knowledgeable he is to go around along with size and being protected a little bit better by McNeil and Reeder. And he was fine as a rookie. I had no problem with his play, but I think he could really take a step forward in year 2.
By the way, so listed amongst the linebackers here is actually more of an edge guy. That's Nolan Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of breakout candidates for the Eagles. They've had a lot of picks, even though they're already a really good football team. With Hassan Reddick leaving and more of a stand-up rusher type of a role for that defense now under Fangio, Nolan Smith's a really interesting player that could have a breakout. He wasn't really a huge sack guy in college, so I don't know if you should expect big sack numbers for him. But if you're listing him as a linebacker, and I probably should have mentioned him with the edge guys. And look, I know some of these guys are very high draft picks, so it's easy to say, hey, first round guy that runs 4.3. Yeah, that's a pretty easy breakout. But he has the opportunity now. He's no longer as blocked as he was before in that Philadelphia Eagles defense for how many snaps he could get, which means he could be a lot more productive in 2024.
That's a good one, and I think it's the point of his career already. Show me what position you play and start to excel there. And I'm sure Fangio has a plan for him, but he worried me coming out that he might be neither,
Similarly, Your Steelers have a guy, 4th rounder from the 2023 class in Nick Herbig.
Yeah.
And I know he was good as a rookie. Is there more there for him?
Certainly, they had Marcus Golden as the 3 and Herbig as the 4. Herbig's now the 3 and Golden hasn't come back. It's funny. I mean, he just followed TJ Watt, another Wisconsin guy, around like a puppy dog in camp, and as he should, and just soaked everything in. Limited snaps, but was highly effective per snap.
You said you had 2 off-ball linebackers. Is that correct?
Yeah, my second one goes back to 2021. The Brownies JOK. I mean, again, if you're on 2021, people know who you are. But I think he could be, I don't want to say Roquan or Warner, but could he be the 3rd, 4th, 5th best off the ball player in the league? Maybe. I think he has that kind of talent.
No mentions of the 2022 draft class, and I don't know if there's anybody that I project from a true middle linebacker, off-ball linebacker role to truly have a huge breakout. There's probably some candidates, going back to the Eagles again. Nakobe Dean would be one of those. But I think Quay Walker with the Packers, I think the reports aren't great out of there. I don't know if I think that is one that I would project to not happen for the Packers there. And it's fascinating how these early linebackers, these 1st-round linebackers, the height, weight, speed guys that traditionally are drafted early in the draft at that position just have a really bad hit rate. Devin Lloyd, I don't know if he's
I was going to mention Lloyd. I'm not sure if it's a pivotal time for him all of a sudden.
Yeah. And I don't know how many of these guys have been the player they expected. And then you look down the list and see a guy like Leo Chenal for the Chiefs, who's obviously has a very interesting role. He's almost like he's an interior pass rusher from the 2nd level. It's really
a weird role,
the way they use him, but it's also great job, Chiefs, drafting a guy, having a plan, and utilizing what he's really good at, because that's what he's great at. And so that's why he fell to the late 3rd round in the draft in 2023. He's like, I don't know about Leo Chenal. I don't think he's a true middle backer necessarily. I don't know if he's an edge guy either, but man, he's such a great blitzer. And so the Chiefs are like, well, guess what? Let's blitz him from the inside.
Yeah, we'll use him that way.
Use him. And so I don't know how much more there is usage-wise or how many snaps he's going to get, but I find it fascinating they found a role for him, and he's been really good at it.
Yeah, I think they just want him to be a bull in a china shop, and that's exactly what he is, and just wreck stuff and cause havoc, and that's exactly who he is.
Absolutely. Let's move on to some defensive backs then, Matt. Who's on your list as defensive backs to look for that you're expecting a breakout from in 2024?
All right, let's start with last year's rookies. I think there's some obvious ones that were drafted high. I thought Christian Gonzales was fantastic before his injury. I think Witherspoon's already really good, but the Ravens defense puts a lot of stress and asks a lot out of their slot corner, and I think Witherspoon can go up a major notch with this coaching staff. Sticking with the Steelers, Porter was really, really good too, and I think he should and he's followed around number 1 receivers. I mean, that's rare for a rookie. And then you mentioned the Bears defensive tackles. I think Stevenson's an absolute keeper as a number 2 corner that might turn into a 1 for other teams.
If you put Christian Gonzales and Joey Porter Jr.'s seasons together, perfect. Amazing, right? One was the first half guy, kind of got hurt. The other guy was the second half guy. And so a full season from both those players. Absolutely. Those are good ones. I'm going to go, actually, I haven't named any 49ers. 49ers have already been so good on the defensive side of the ball, but I do have a couple in the secondary to look out for. One is a projected starter in the upcoming year. Another one might be a year away. But I do want to go to the 3rd round of the draft. The 49ers selected Jair Brown, safety out of Penn State, and he's now in line to be the starter for the 49ers. And he's so much like Talanoa Hufanga, instinctive player, gets his hands on a lot of footballs, maybe doesn't have great top-end speed, but is just a football player, and that's what the 49ers have looked for and hit on so many times in a lot of positions in the middle to late portions of NFL drafts, and they might have found another one here. I don't know if he's going to be an all-pro in his second year like Talanoa Hufanga was, but an opportunity to be a starting safety and really get the spoils from a really good front in front of him on a Super Bowl caliber football team. So I'm going to throw Jair Brown out there, who's going to get a starter's worth of reps in his second year.
Good one. One other name I just wanted to mention, he was kind of on my just missed list, is Jartavius Martin, who's Illinois turned Commander. Really liked his game, and I thought his rookie season was pretty solid.
Keitrell Clark. Keitrell Clark for the Cardinals, 6th round guy. He's a guy I've liked. Just a scrappy dude. He's my breakout guy for the Arizona Cardinals. I wanted to throw his name out there before I forgot.
Okay, good one. I mean, a lot of opportunity with that team.
I want to go a little bit later too. We're talking about all these first round guys too. Yeah. Go a little bit late, and there's other guys like have you seen the photo? There's a photo going around of Emmanuel Forbes, and everybody knows he's whatever he was, 160 something pounds or something when he was coming out. I don't know how you look at him and say I'm going to draft that guy almost at all, let alone in the first round. He is so small and skinny. He looks like whose little brother is on the field right now? Whose kid is running around loose on the field right now? That's how skinny he looks. I'm a little bit worried with Emmanuel Forbes. It might be a limiting factor for him. We might have gone a little too far because I know size hasn't mattered as much in recent years to some teams. Might have gone a little too far with Emmanuel Forbes.
I'm rooting for him, but I've thought that since before he was drafted. I mean, this is a 17-game season, and more these coordinators are getting so smart of let's make corners tackle, in the run game. Let's get Derrick Henry coming off the edge, coming to the edge right at these guys, or Chubb, or, big physical dudes. Make them tackle is certainly a priority with some of these run games. I don't know that I want him doing that.
I got a few more names, breakout players in the secondary, especially looking at this pretty deep class of corners and secondary players from the 2023 draft going into year 2. Potential breakouts next. All right, taking a look at breakout players here in 2024. And we've got a few more players here to go before we finish this episode up. And I'm going to go back to the 2023 class. And I think Brian Branch is already a breakout player, and people should know him. And maybe if people don't, this will be the year they'll know more about him. Maybe even more roles, maybe even more snaps, from week 1 on. But Brian Branch has a chance to be a star player in the NFL for the Detroit Lions, 2nd rounder from the 2023 class.
Yeah, I think he could be the best. Or right there, slot interior, kind of like we talked about yesterday with Cooper DeJean, just all around defensive back type guy. I love him. I loved him coming out of school, and he didn't do anything to let me down as a rookie for the Lions.
A couple more names here. I want to go back to the Washington Commanders. Okay, and they still have some things to figure out there on the back end, but Quan Martin, Jatavius Martin, 2nd round pick. It was just a freaky athlete last year, kind of a safety nickel. I think he could do a lot of things. Is he going to earn a starting job? I would love to see what he looked like in a full-time role in that Washington secondary. And so since I crushed him with the Forbes pick, I'm going to give him some credit with the Quan Martin pick and a player that I expect to be a breakout player, earn a starting job somewhere in that secondary here in 2024.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Do-it-all type guy, sort of similar to Branch.
Yeah, similar to Branch. I think he profiles a little bit more as a pure safety. I would like to see Branch actually just get if you're not in 3 wide, you're going to have the guy sitting on the bench.
I ever pull him off the field.
Yeah, right. Branch is one of your best 11 players. Keep him on the field somewhere.
Yep. The rest of my D-backs are from 2022, and then I have one going back to 2021.
Let's hear him.
I'll start with the 21. I think J.C. Horn can be amazing if he stays on the field. Like every time he's out there, he is a phenomenal player. Just stay healthy. You're on a bad team. People it seems like he's out of sight, out of mind. But I really like him, and I like him more now than when he came out of school. Just stay healthy.
That's a big one, staying healthy. Yeah. The Houston Texans have a guy from the 2022 class in Jalen Petrie, another one of those.
He's on my list.
Nickel, safety. What position does he play? He burst on the scene. He's like, oh, this is a dude after his first season, and then kind of up and down year. There's been some injuries there with him as well. Find a position, let him thrive there. I think Jalen Petrie could re-break out because I think he kind of broke out as a rookie, but not quite. Jalen Petrie is still a guy that I fully believe in for that Texans defense.
I put Petrie and Derek Stingley on my list. And Stingley is a super highly drafted household name. But for whatever reason, Lovie Smith is like all cover 2. They draft Stingley. I'm like, this guy's a man coverage superstar. And now we're starting to finally see it. I don't know that he'll ever be to Sauce Gardner, who he was drafted slightly above level, who's best corner in the league. But I don't think that's crazy. I mean, he was a Jamar Chase like phenom at LSU.
And you have one more? Is that right?
I have a handful more.
Okay.
I got Alontae Taylor with the Saints, and all of a sudden they have a million corners. Is Lattimore on the block?
So
yeah.
My next thing I was going to bring up was because we've kind of glossed over rookies, and it does take rookies some time, but there's going to be some rookie breakout players. And I was looking at Kool-Aid McKinstry, and I was like, there's a battle in that Saints secondary. So Kool-Aid might, even though he wasn't a first round pick, kind of slipped a little bit. He's a ready to play guy, and he's a guy that can play outside, can play inside. He's someone that I could see breaking out right away for that Saints secondary. So a lot to be decided there for the cover guys in New Orleans.
They almost have one too many quality corners, and they're all pretty young with the exception of Lattimore. So I don't know if one's on the move or what.
Lay them on me. Let's hear the rest of them because I do want to talk rookies just a little bit before.
Okay. I'm a big fan more and more of Emerson with the Browns, and with all respect to Ward, I think Emerson has the highest ceiling because of his length, because of his man coverage ability. Sticking in the AFC North, I also have Taylor Britt with the Bengals. I think he could easily become their best defensive back overall. And the last one is the Chiefs, Joshua Williams, who's a later pick that sure looks like he's going to have to do the next Snead, the next mid-round pick that the Chiefs developed so well. So Emerson, Taylor Britt, and Joshua Williams, I think, are all names people need to know.
I'd kind of forgotten about Joshua Williams, but I really liked his tape. He looked good in the All-Star games leading up into the draft. He was the small school guy, right? HBCU, was it Jackson?
Fayetteville State.
Fayetteville State. That's right. Fayetteville State. Like the only guy ever drafted out of Fayetteville State. He's got some length, some athleticism. That's a really good
4th round pick. No, they're counting on him, and I think the way they develop defensive backs, I have faith that he's going to be pretty darn good.
Faith in Spagnuolo. We talked about Chenal and if you're a defensive player, you hope to get drafted by the Chiefs.
Yep, that's definitely a great landing spot to develop. We talked about this yesterday with linemen going to the Eagles. Like, great.
That's a good one. Looking at some rookies, this was a historic draft class on the defensive side of the ball for the rookies. Not a single defensive player drafted until pick 15. And then there was 3 in a row. Laiatu Latu went to the Colts 15. Byron Murphy went to the Seahawks at 16. Dallas Turner went to the Vikings at 17. They moved up to get him. There's this show, Matt. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's on. I don't even know where it's on. Maybe it's on Hulu. It is like showing draft rooms. And I haven't seen the show yet, but I keep seeing clips of it. And something's fascinating to me about it. And we should talk a little bit more about it. Every team, it shows them on the phone trying to trade up for their guy. And it's so striking to me because no other teams care about the guy that the teams are trying to go get. Every single time it's like, oh, Jets are trying to get up and get Malachi Corley, and they've been trying to go up to get him since early round 2, and they're calling everybody, and nobody cares. They're like, and they finally end up going up and getting him with the first pick in the 3rd round. It's not that nobody cares; you would eventually got taken, but it's
of course,
it's hilarious to watch every team think that their guy, they got to go get their guy, and they most times didn't really even need to go get their guy that much, and the other teams they're talking to don't really care about their guy; they care about their own guy, who in turn also nobody else cares about. So that it's fascinating.
One team is stressing about one player. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all doing it differently with different guys. And none of the other teams care about the same guy that the other teams care about. And so
it doesn't surprise me.
And it's awesome, except for Byron Murphy and the Rams, the division rival Rams for the Seahawks. The Seahawks end up taking him at 16. The Rams are really active, calling teams, trying to get up to 10, 11. They wanted Brock Bowers apparently. And then when Bowers is gone, they really wanted Byron Murphy. And they tried to get up to 15 with the Colts. Colts weren't taken. They called the Seahawks, and the Seahawks were like, nope, we're selecting. And so it was like the first player I've seen with all those draft war room videos of teams trading up. It's the first time I've seen actually that teams cared about the guy that the team was trying to trade up to get, and it was Byron Murphy. So there's my breakout for you.
That's a great one. Just to wrap it up, I guess, is with, on defensive backs that are rookies, everyone knows there's only 3 defensive backs drafted in the first round, which is a very, very low number and not until 22nd overall. But there were 10 second-round defensive backs. And Ennis Rakestraw with the Lions, Sandistro with the Commanders, Melton with the Cardinals. I could see all those guys making immediate impacts.
Kool-Aid, who I just mentioned, and that's why I like Kool-Aid, because I think he was one of the most pro-ready guys, and so I think he can just come in and play right away. And you're right, he was much more second-round heavy than first-round heavy defensive back class. And as long as they get Cooper DeJean's position right, I think he could be something for the Eagles. But they've got a lot of, like, he might need to play understudy to CJ Gardner-Johnson for a year, because we know that CJ Gardner-Johnson can't stick around anywhere for longer than a year, and then Cooper DeJean jumps into a starting role. So let's talk Cooper DeJean next year as a breakout maybe for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I loved him coming in, and again, he came up yesterday in our Eagle conversation. That's a good call with Gardner-Johnson as a kind of a comp.
By the way, Laiatu Latu, another pro-ready player.
Oh,
he's all about now versus the future. He's already got technique and ready to go and pass rush moves and counters to those moves. And, it's kind of silly to say, the first defensive player taken is going to be a breakout, might be good. Yeah. Well, they probably expect him to be good, but if you're looking at players to break out, you probably just got to start with the first defensive rookie selected. And that was Laiatu Latu, who's a ready to go player, more so than maybe a Dallas Turner might be, even though Turner might have, better sack numbers eventually. I like Latu as a rookie.
The minute the odds came out, I put a couple bucks on him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I just think that he's in a great situation. There's not that much competition ahead of him in a dome. I mean, he's so pro ready. I feel pretty strongly about Latu as Defensive Rookie of the Year.
There you go. Let us know who are your defensive breakouts in 2024. Hit me on Twitter at BD Peacock. Hit Matt at Williamson NFL. Drop a comment in the YouTube comment section. Also drop a question there for tomorrow's mailbag episode. It'll be just me, no Matt Williamson. You can say goodbye to Matt Williamson on his vacation and drop a message to him if you want as well, either in the YouTube comments or on Twitter. Matt, have a good time. Don't think about football. Don't think about your responsibilities. Don't think about future episodes. Just have fun on your little summer vacation this week.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm pretty good at not thinking about my responsibilities. I'm pretty bad at not thinking about football. So
okay. Your vacation is getting to talk about or think about football without having to talk about it for a week.
Yeah, I'll float around the pool or snorkeling thinking about, the Steelers O-line situation or something,
I just picture you're sleeping on the pool, getting a sunburn, you're on a floaty, and then like there's the thought bubble above your head, and it's like a football, and there's like a hot dog spinning around on a roller, and then there's a daiquiri or something floating around.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
All right. Have fun on vacation. Mailbag tomorrow. Matt back next week. Talk to you then right here. Peacock and Williamson.